Hello, this is Dr. Laura Murillo, President and CEO of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Today we're recognizing our Houston legend. You know her well. You've seen her out in the community representing us. She's heading up Baker Ripley. She's their CEO. Claudia Aguirre is joining us today. She has done so many important things in this city, and we're going to learn more about her. Please welcome the CEO of Baker Ripley, Claudia Aguirre. Thanks for being here.
Oh, Dr. Murillo, thank you so much. What an honor, not only to be here with you, but for the award. Thank you.
Well, you do so much, and it is a big operation. And I remember when you were working there, and you were being considered for the role, and it's been such a delight to get to see you develop and grow and just own this entity in a way that is making us proud. It's a tough job.
Yes, and I do it on behalf of the 1,400 people we have on our team, but mostly 500,000 people that we serve every year.
Yes.
That's who this is work for,
Yes.
so thank you.
So what do you think it is about your upbringing that has prepared you for this role? But more than prepared you for the role, is that you have such empathy for the people that you serve.
Yeah, so Laura, I always say, my father turned his light off so that mine can shine. When he brought us here, he did it under one goal, was to have the American dream. And when we crossed over and we moved to El Paso, we had had a pretty good life up until then. We lost everything after the economy crashed in Mexico, and we needed to get help. We needed to ask help, and it was not done in a respectful way. It was the services, the help that we went after was not done in a respectful way. And I used to think about how hard working my dad was, how hard working my entire family and everyone. And I just knew that there would be a different way to help and support our struggling families. And so now this is what I do. I have a legacy of supporting people like me, like my family, and really just getting them up and winning their American dream.
Yes, and isn't it very interesting that as you reflect, especially during the last 3 or 4 disasters, that even the middle class is suffering, and you see the cars that they're driving, sometimes in some of your food distributions, that it's impacting sometimes the best of us.
Right. Any one of us, I think about Harvey and the NRG shelter that we opened, any one of us is one step away from a Harvey. And we saw that recently with COVID. Mm-hmm. We see that just folks that have been working really hard, and then all of a sudden something happens, and then it just sets them back. Times are tough right now. Times are really tough, and so many times we see people come to the centers balancing their budget. If they can come and get food, then they don't have to pay for food. They can come and get support. They don't have to do this with their money. So it is tough. It is tough. But at the same time, Dr. Murillo, I would want to say, we talk about this economic and socioeconomic of our families. We know that we don't have an unemployment problem here. It's an underemployment. So we've got folks like on the pipeline, and we're getting them stuck. They're stuck right there, and we need to keep pushing them up the pipeline. And the middle class is really seeing tough times that they hadn't seen before.
Mm-hmm. And so many services. I don't think people really understand the number of services and partnerships that Baker Ripley has.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know now what the number is. I mean, I think at one point it was 75 distinct interventions. But I think that's the whole point about this, is that none of us, if we think about our life, none of us need or desire one thing, right? We want our kids healthy, we want our kids in school, and so that's what it is working in our communities. We have to think about it holistically, right?
Yes.
We can't do it on the back of education, housing, basic needs. We got to do it all together.
Yes.
So that's our strategy, is that to be able to bring everything together to really support our families.
And in saying that, certainly you work a lot with not only the people who need it the most, but also the people who can give and donate and participate the most with corporations. And Houston is a unique city. We have very philanthropic people, but your voice is an important one. Both you and I serve on the Federal Reserve Board. Those conversations critically important to our economy. So how have you navigated those waters?
You know, when I got to the Federal Reserve, I was excited because I thought, for one, you know, oh, we're going to bring the voice of our communities to this important table. How exciting. And after being there, as you know, it's really much more than that. It really is being able to navigate and to think about what you're leaving for this city.
Yes.
The decisions that are being made around those tables, the decisions that are being made with our partners. I think about like Verizon and Shell, the partnerships, those things that we're leaving the learning innovation centers behind. Those are the amazing things that will be there way after I'm gone, way after I leave, and they will already been making a very much difference in our communities.
So Claudia, one of the things that I enjoy asking people about is what they were like when they were children. So you strike me as a very curious little girl that was all over the house trying to do multiple things at once. Am I close?
Very close. So I'm the middle child. And so I think my parents said that I was always trying to get attention. The oldest one was the, you know, go-getter, get it done. The small one was the baby. And I was always needing attention. So, and it ranged. I was, you know, really, really bad one day and really, really good another day. But the curiosity that I had as a child, I think, really has led me to thinking about, you know, future and looking at our family. So it was an interesting dynamic at the house.
Yeah, and here you are, mother of two, almost adults, I guess, or one is, she's already graduated from college and is going to law school. And so you've been a single mom for a long time as well. And again, I think that experience has prepared you for many of the people, many of the women who come to Baker Ripley.
Right. You know, I've been real fortunate that a lot of my support came from mentors and, you know, family members. But it's been rough. I mean, trying to navigate, you know, as you know, trying to navigate professional life, motherhood, and family caretaker. It's been really a rough, you know, moment, but I'm so proud of them. I'm proud of both of them. I am proud of how this, you know, everyone just really rallies around me and really helps me out.
It is a big job. I mean, let's not make any mistake about it. You have a board of directors, you have community expectations, you have corporate partners, and it's intense.
I'm really privileged, though, Dr. Murillo. Let me just tell you that this is the epitome of being at a civic club one night to around the governor's table of the Federal Reserve, all in one day.
Yes.
And you have to be able to navigate it. And so you got to keep a little bit of humility. You got to keep a little bit of, you know, thick skin.
Yes.
It's sometimes rough. You know, it's not always easy walking into a room that people don't look like me that have walked in. And so, you know, the imposter syndrome hits sometimes. You know, oh, am I going to do this enough? Am I going to be this great for our communities? So it's rough, not just physically. It's a 24/7 job, but on your mind, on your heart, when you see the heartache of some families that you've tried to help and then, you know, the setback. But it's the biggest privilege of my life. It is the biggest privilege.
Well, and that's why we wanted to recognize you as one of our Houston legends. You are making a tremendous difference. And as women, we often are in charge of so much more than just our careers. So much falls on us as women, and we count on that support system. So I'm so proud of you, Claudia.
Thank you.
And I've just enjoyed seeing your upward trajectory and seeing you, as you mentioned, you know, with the people and in very important places where many of us are privileged to be at, and it's a heavy responsibility, but you do it so graciously. I'd like to end with you telling us something that you hope your children will think of you as and your legacy. What would you like your children to believe is your legacy to them?
You know, I told you about like my father turning his light off so we could shine. I'd like my legacy. I'd like my children to be able to say, my mom had her light on and which turned ours on too.
Nice.
And then that our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren, that they will think of me as that lever that was switched for
Yes.
their generation.
Absolutely. Well, that's a beautiful answer. Thank you so much, and we want to thank you for joining us here on KHOU 11 and our Audacy stations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gosh, what a great organization, what great leadership from Dr. Murillo. You always want to go where the future is, and this is where the future is. And when you look at this people, the quality of the production, everything about this organization and the leadership, this is what you want to be a part of.
The Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is the leading regional advocate for the economic and civic interests of the Hispanic business community. Our 3 legislative priorities include DACA, NAFTA, and census. Collectively, the economic impact of these 3 legislative priorities is $24.8 billion in the greater Houston region. The Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce announced a wide-ranging partnership with the City of Houston ahead of the pivotal 2020 U.S. Census to increase engagement and broaden awareness. We have utilized our media platform, which includes CBS, Intercom, Univision, KHOU 11, and the Q to disseminate facts and figures. Additionally, the national media has taken notice of our chamber and has featured us on Bloomberg, CNN, The Washington Post, NPR, Money Week, to name a few, in an effort to educate and emphasize our role as the leader of Houston's new majority. We prepared op-eds, wrote white papers, held press conferences, presented on local and national panels.
NAFTA, as you know, your chamber once again has taken the lead. The numbers don't lie.
This is about jobs, economic impact. We know that a trade between the U.S. and Mexico is over $180 billion as it relates to Texas.
We celebrate the fact that the United States Supreme Court has thrown out that census question that was, are you a U.S. citizen?
It was also a banner year for the Chamber's annual initiatives, groundbreaking and data-focused Hispanic Impact Summits, the Women's Leadership Conference and Business Expo, Health, Innovation, and Technology Summit, our annual Luncheon and Business Expo, the largest in Houston, as well as our elected officials reception, annual awards gala. We graduated emerging leaders. The Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce remains mission-focused.
And as go Hispanics, so goes Houston.
The Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is the leading regional advocate for the economic and civic interest of the Hispanic business community, the leader of Houston's new majority.
Hello, I'm Dr. Laura Murillo, President and CEO of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. What a pleasure to recognize our next Houston legend. He's a dear friend of mine and of this community. He does so much locally, at the state level, nationally, and internationally. But the most important thing about him is he's a family man. He adores his family. He has an exceptional, just life, and he's so giving to others. He has been involved in almost everything that is Houston that is a success story. And we're happy to have him here today, and most importantly, to learn more about our own Mustafa Tamez. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. Mustafa, I have so enjoyed working with you. And if I had to name 10 people in this city who have given so much of their time, expertise, and knowledge, you would be on that list.
You are very kind.
Well, it is very true. You and I have worked together for many years on a lot of different projects, including traveling, outside of Houston on some very important delegations across the globe. And you really have your pulse on what is happening. And at the same time, you're able to multitask in a way that is a skill, a very, very important skill that you have. And you know so many people, and you've got institutional knowledge about so many things. So what I want to know is what you were like as a little boy. Like, were you, like, was your mom like chasing you all around the house because you were doing all kinds of things, or were you studious, just reading?
You know, I was a sickly kid. I had asthma, and I had asthma when we didn't have these inhalers. So my mom actually kept me very close to her. And every now and then, you know, just being close, I would try to sneak out and do something.
Yeah.
One time I took keys back where I come from, where I grew up in Pakistan, you can actually stick something into the electric socket.
Oh.
And so, you know, the ADD I have today is probably because I buzzed myself.
Oh, that's so. If anyone wants to have a lot of energy and get things done, I don't recommend it, but this may have been the case. Well, Mustafa, of all of the things that you do, we're going to talk about your business now, but you're involved in so many. Is there a particular niche that when it comes across your desk that you are just so excited to be able to work on? And if so, what is that?
Well, I'll tell you, I love this city. I think that this city, you know, for a long time people were trying to figure out how to brand it. Is it a bayou city? Is it a space city? I really think it's a city of opportunity.
Yes.
Many of us have come to this city with just shirts on our back or just started out here, and it's been good to us.
Yes.
And this, we're fourth largest city on the way to be the third largest city. So I'm very excited about Houston and Houston's future.
Yes. So tell us about your company.
You know, and just talking about the Houston,
Yeah.
I don't think my company could have happened anywhere but here. 20 years ago, I started Outreach Strategist when Texas became a majority minority state, trying to figure out how do we get people that look like you and I and others, that how do we get them to the table of
Yes.
important decisions. And so the last 20 years, we started out as a Houston expert, and now we're able to branch out and do things outside the city because we have these great verticals in healthcare, in infrastructure and transportation, and doing a lot of work also in innovation. So we've got great things that we are experts at because we started in Houston,
Yes.
and everything here is at scale. So it's built really great momentum for our business, and we've been fortunate to be here.
And not only that, but you've recruited really talented, diverse people on your team, which that's what makes us, right? We've got to have people, we've got to have the right team.
Yeah, we've got some really phenomenal people in our shop that are expert in what they do,
Yes.
but they're also connected to the community. And
Yes.
so for me, that's the biggest blessing. I get to work with people that really care about the city and the state. And so it's an exciting time for Houston, and it's an exciting time for us to be part of the business that we're in.
So let's go back a little bit to your parents. Talk to me a little bit about what they did and whether or not you ever thought you'd be doing what you're doing here in this big city.
You know, I grew up in a 650 square foot apartment. There was 5 of us in Queens, New York. Probably went to the worst schools, not just in Queens, but maybe in all of New York. But coming up in that environment, it taught me a lot. It taught me to be self-resilient.
Yes.
And then when I came to Houston, coming out of Queens, coming into Houston, Houston is an embracing town. Like, you can come from anywhere and you can be part of Houston. It's not like that everywhere. And so I feel fortunate that I came here, got married here, built a family here and a business, and this place has been good to us.
Yes, and you've been great to Houston. So there are a lot of things that you've been involved with. Are there a couple that really stand out for you?
Well, you know, I will tell you, one of my experiences, and you have too, is American Leadership Forum.
Yes.
I was part of ALF over a decade ago, and I've made some of the closest friends I have today.
Yes.
And it brings me a lot of joy when I see them around town doing great things. And so it's something that means a lot to me, and, you know, continue to serve on the board and in a number of other ways.
Yes, and we have a mutual friend that I met through that program, which is Naomi, and we're so proud of him and all the work that he and so many others, as you said. Houston's a great city, and it's been great to so many of us that I feel something that you and I have in common is just wanting to give back because it has been great to us. Let's talk about your family. you've got some extraordinary children and a phenomenal wife. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, my kids were blessed, one being here, but my parents lived with us. We bought the house next door. My mother-in-law lived next door. So they grew up with family around them all the time. And that's been the biggest blessing for them in terms of growing up in an environment that's very nurturing. At the same time, if they got out of line or if they didn't behave, there were lots of people looking out for them. So we're very fortunate. They're doing really well. I've got one that just graduated from law school, another one at Texas A&M, third one right here, Carnegie Vanguard. So we're fortunate and know that we're fortunate.
Yes. Well, and they are, as I like to say, the 2.0 version of their parents. And he says he graduated from law school. He graduated from Yale Law School, by the way. Congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment. I think for those of us with children, we want them to thrive and take advantage of so many opportunities. And you've been able to do that. And you travel. You were extraordinarily busy. What do you still want to do? What is still on your plate that you'd like to accomplish?
I got a big plate. There's a lot I want to do. This next decade is very important for our city, our state, and our country.
Yes.
How we build consensus to do important things is critical, whether it's AI emerging in terms of technology,
Yes.
or whether we see the division in our country. This is the time to be engaged. This is the best time to have ever lived,
Yes.
because the opportunities or what's coming ahead are going to be incredibly valuable for the future.
Absolutely. So I would like to ask you, as you are reflecting now on this phenomenal career, and as you look forward to the next 10 years, what would you like your children to know as part of your legacy? What is your legacy? What do you want your legacy to be?
There's a lot of work to do. One thing that I think is important to me is how we bring people together to do good things. The social fabric of our country is so important. We have to listen to each other more. We have to walk in others' shoes, and we've got to do better for everybody, regardless if you're rich or poor. And so, the work we do is bringing people together around important conversations and figuring out solutions to the big problems. And I hope that I get to continue to do that. I can't believe they pay me at times. I think I would have done it for free if they'd asked.
Well, you do a lot for free, and at the same time, you've employed a great team. Your hands have touched so much around this city, and we're so thankful for you and your team, and this is why we wanted to recognize you as our Houston legend.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Gosh, what a great organization. What great leadership from Dr. Murillo. You always want to go where the future is, and this is where the future is. And when you look at this people, the quality of the production, everything about this organization and the leadership, this is what you want to be a part of.
The Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is the leading regional advocate for the economic and civic interests of the Hispanic business community. Our three legislative priorities include DACA, NAFTA, and census. Collectively, the economic impact of these three legislative priorities is $24.8 billion in the greater Houston region. The Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce announced a wide-ranging partnership with the City of Houston ahead of the pivotal 2020 U.S. Census to increase engagement and broaden awareness. We've utilized our media platform, which includes CBS, Intercom, Univision, KHOU 11, and the Q to disseminate facts and figures. Additionally, the national media has taken notice of our chamber and has featured us on Bloomberg, CNN, The Washington Post, NPR, Money Week, to name a few, in an effort to educate and emphasize our role as the leader of Houston's new majority. We prepared op-eds, wrote white papers, held press conferences, presented on local and national panels.
NAFTA, as you know, your chamber once again has taken the lead. The numbers don't lie.
This is about jobs.
economic impact. We know that a trade between the U.S. and Mexico is over $180 billion as it relates to Texas.
We celebrate the fact that the United States Supreme Court has thrown out that census question that was, are you a U.S. citizen?
It was also a banner year for the Chamber's annual initiatives, groundbreaking and data-focused Hispanic Impact Summits, the Women's Leadership Conference and Business Expo, Health, Innovation, and Technology Summit, our annual Luncheon and Business Expo, the largest in Houston, as well as our elected officials reception, annual awards gala. We graduated emerging leaders. The Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce remains mission-focused.
And as go Hispanics, so goes Houston.
The Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is the leading regional advocate for the economic and civic interest of the Hispanic business community, the leader of Houston's new majority.
Hello, I'm Dr. Laura Murillo, President and CEO of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Very happy to have our next guest, our Mayor Whitmire selected him as the new director of the Houston Airport System, and he's got a huge responsibility with a lot of the airports here, including the Hobby Airport, Intercontinental, Ellington, and a lot of other things that he's responsible for. So he's going to talk to us a little bit about that. Joining us is Jim Sasniak. Thank you so much for joining us, Jim.
Yeah, great to be here.
Well, thank you for the ongoing partnership with the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. For many years, you all have been very involved. I know you've attended several of our events, and so thank you for that, and to your team for being so engaged with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lots to report. Great job given the last two storms that we've experienced in Houston. I know that for you and your team, it's been very challenging, but you guys have been very impressive in terms of how you kept people coming and going. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, so credit definitely goes to the team, but it's also the plan and the practice that we do. So we've got a hurricane preparedness plan for the airport. We practice it, we implement it. The team executed it perfectly. We can always do better, so we will do a lessons learned afterwards where we can tweak things. But the key thing ultimately is the proof is in the pudding on that. And so the hurricane, the eye wall basically went over both Hobby and Bush on the dirty side, and we were able to basically let the eye wall clear and had the both airports up and accepting flights within 4 hours of the eye wall passing. And then from an operational standpoint for passengers, the next day Hobby was 100% and Bush was around 70%. And then the following day, both airports were 100%. So that's a credit to the team that we have here and the partners that help it all work out here. But it's pretty amazing that, we had a hurricane go right over both airports and we were able to really perform outstanding.
It truly is, especially when you look at overall in the city where we still, even as we are speaking, we know there's still homes and businesses without power. So kudos,
Mine included.
kudos to you and the team, especially. Tell us a little bit about some of the upgrades and changes especially at Intercontinental Airport.
Yeah, so we've got two major projects that are going on at Intercontinental. One's finishing and one's starting. So obviously the one that everybody's familiar with is the international project, where we're basically taking the old international terminal, we spruced it up. So that's complete. We're adding a pier on the airport on that existing area, so it's another set of gates out there. So it'll be 6 wide body capable gates to increase our capacity for more international flying. And so we're working on finishing that up right now. And so we're hoping to have that done by the end of the summer. And then we've got the international central processor, which is going to be done in 2 phases. So it'll be late winter and then end of next summer. That's going to be basically the replacement for Terminal E, and then also check-in, and then also it's going to be where new international ticketing and drop-offs and pickups are going to be, which is very important for us because with the construction we've got going on right now, we've got kind of 2 primary challenges. Number one, for people who go into Terminal C, you have to recognize that Terminal C right now is 2 terminals in one. Because you have all the Terminal E gates and the Terminal C gates that are operating in there. And so when you go in there, you've got 2 terminals in one. So the TSA checkpoints and the the ticket counters and all that. It's very, very compact and compressed in there. But once the Terminal E opens up for United to move back in there, that'll relieve a lot of the pressure in Terminal C. And then also the international arrivals curb. Right now we've got the temporary curb that we've got there. It's not a very good customer experience, but we're going to be able to open the new curbs for the new building, hopefully right before Christmas, to be able to handle with that traffic and release a lot of the roadway traffic that we've got, at the airport.
Well, that would be right on time for the holiday scurry and getting people in and out. So important. So tell us a little bit about this Whisk Aero. What is that?
Yeah, so Whisk Aero is they call it eVTOLs or electric helicopters or whatever you want to use. But what it is it's basically an electric helicopter, and it's designed to offer service similar to like an Uber Black. And so you're going to see, again, those kind of vehicles popping up in the Houston area sometime probably in 2027, 28, somewhere in that time frame. And what they will be primarily used for to start is a service where if you are living in the south side of the city, you'll be able to jump on an eVTOL at Ellington and take it directly to Bush and fly over the traffic. Also, if you're out in Sugar Land or if you're out maybe by Houston Executive, some of these, further out areas of the city or the metro area, you'll be able to take those flying helicopters directly into the airport and then be able to jump on your planes right there. And so you've got Whisk that's going to be doing it autonomously. And then you've got Archer that's a partner with United. And they just signed an agreement also to work with Southwest. So we'll have a lot of these things probably in the Houston market in the near future to be able to, kind of get you around the traffic.
Well, certainly all of that is appreciated. Anything else that you'd like to leave us with before we wrap up the interview?
Yeah, so again, United Airlines is also kicking off a big project at Bush. So they're going to be redoing completely Terminal B. And then at Hobby, we're doing an expansion at Terminal there where it's going to be a 7-gate expansion. 6 of them are primarily for Southwest. So again, if we look at Houston, it's a growing market. We've got about 140,000 people moving here on an annual basis. So we continue to see increased traffic at the airports. We're seeing record numbers this summer. So we're, again, trying to build the infrastructure to make sure that we have, all we need to be able to handle the future growth at Houston.
Now, once again, thank you for all that you and your team are doing, and we look forward to seeing you at the next Hispanic Chamber of Commerce event. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, too.
Bye-bye.
Gosh, what a great organization, what great leadership from Dr. Murillo. You always want to go where the future is, and this is where the future is. And when you look at this people, the quality of the production, everything about this organization and the leadership, this is what you want to be a part of.
The Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is the leading regional advocate for the economic and civic interests of the Hispanic business community. Our 3 legislative priorities include DACA, NAFTA, and census. Collectively, the economic impact of these 3 legislative priorities is $24.8 billion in the greater Houston region. The Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce announced a wide-ranging partnership with the City of Houston ahead of the pivotal 2020 U.S. Census to increase engagement and broaden awareness. We've utilized our media platform, which includes CBS, Intercom, Univision, KHOU 11, and the Q to disseminate facts and figures. Additionally, the national media has taken notice of our chamber and has featured us on Bloomberg, CNN, The Washington Post, NPR, Money Week, to name a few, in an effort to educate and emphasize our role as the leader of Houston's new majority. We prepared op-eds, wrote white papers, held press conferences, presented on local and national panels.
NAFTA, as you know, your chamber once again has taken the lead. The numbers don't lie.
This is about jobs, economic impact. We know that a trade between the U.S. and Mexico is over $180 billion as it relates to Texas.
We celebrate the fact that the United States Supreme Court has thrown out that census question that was, are you a U.S. citizen?
It was also a banner year for the Chamber's annual initiatives, groundbreaking and data-focused Hispanic Impact Summits, the Women's Leadership Conference and Business Expo, Health, Innovation, and Technology Summit, our annual luncheon and Business Expo, the largest in Houston, as well as our elected officials reception, annual awards gala. We graduated emerging leaders. The The Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce remains mission-focused.
And as go Hispanics, so goes Houston.
The Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is the leading regional advocate for the economic and civic interest of the Hispanic business community, the leader of Houston's new majority.
I'm Dr. Laura Murillo, President of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We're so happy to recognize our next Houston legend, Roberto Contreras. He is President and CEO of Moderno Porcelain Works and more. You're going to learn a lot about some of his big projects in the city and across the country. Roberto, thank you for being with us.
No, thank you for inviting me.
We've been involved with you for many, many years at the Chamber and have seen you grow and just do so many great things. Moderno Porcelain Works is your newest venture. And before we talk about that, though, tell us a little bit. Your journey has been extraordinary. How did you get started? What was one of your first big breaks?
Oh my God, where do I start? Well, I came to this country in 1984. I came because my parents have moved into the country about a year before, and they kept on inviting and saying, "Hey, you guys have to come. You guys have to come." At the time, I was 20 years old, and I was already married. I was already married with a little baby girl. So my wife and I, Claudia, we decided to, hey, we could always, go and try it and see and explore something new. And if we don't like it, we could always come back to Mexico. So we decided to move to Houston. When I arrived, I did not speak the language. I did not speak English. So I went to University of Houston to take English crash course, English as a second language, and after that I applied to college. So I was coming from starting my degree in engineering at Tecnológico Monterrey in Mexico. And when I arrived here, I knew that I was not going to do engineering because I was really struggling with it, and really my mind was in business. So I applied to Texas A&M because I had a lot of friends that have moved from Tech of Monterrey to A&M, and I didn't make it because my English was not good enough to make it into A&M. So I went to Blinn Junior College. And then later I transferred to U of H. And frankly, I was able to go to college because my wife went to work and I went to school. And even though I was working after school, she was really supporting me. Mm-hmm. And that was my first break. My first break was realizing when I finished college that I could start a business because I was being supported by my wife. I mean, we didn't have much, and it was not easy, but we were surviving. Yes. So I was able to take the risk of starting my own business, which had always been my dream. To be able to create jobs and to be my own boss.
What was your first business?
My first business, I gotta go back to when I was in college. I was working in the warehouse in the afternoons. I was working in the warehouse of this company that was providing the metal fireplace boxes to apartment complexes. So they were a distributor for the manufacturer of the metal fireplaces. And they installed it mainly in apartment complexes. And there was a big boom in the early 80s on apartment construction because there was some tax advantages if you invested in this type of apartment creation or housing creation. So this company had a lot of business, and one of the things that they did is they did some marble surrounds.
Okay.
Together with the fireplace. So in many cases in the summer I was in charge of actually making sure that this got installed properly and it was happening. And I always asked them why they were not doing marble in the vanity tops of these apartments, and they said that it was because of breakage, because they were importing the marble from Italy and from Mexico, and when you bring a piece of marble with a hole, it breaks. So I had a great idea of, I'm going to start a fabrication shop cutting marble and making it easier for companies like this one to be able to supply marble in commercial jobs.
Yes.
To make a long story short, I started a fabrication shop cutting marble, and that was my first business after college, thinking that I already had a customer.
Okay. And today, you're doing a whole lot of work in this space again, but in a very different way.
Well, yes. The experience from that business led to another business I introduced in the late 90s, early 2000s. I introduced a new product to the industry called silestone. So I partnered with a manufacturer, and we created a company to introduce this new product, which is a quartz surface, which at the time didn't exist. There was not a lot of people, actually, there was none really bringing it for countertops. I sold that company 12 years later after I started the company. It was, very successful company. And I left the industry in 2010. And later, I went back to a trade show 7 years later, and I discovered this new product, which my idea was, if I did it before, I could do it again, introduce a new product to the market, because it's not, even though the product is available, it's not really accepted yet. It's not everywhere, and the product has great advantages.
Yes.
over other products, and that is a large format porcelain tile.
And I've been to your warehouse, and it is beautiful. And in terms of the technology, and if you see something, you can take a picture of it, and you're customizing all of it. So
and that is what it is, right? The reality is that the technology keeps advancing.
Yes.
And that gives you the ability to have new products and new ideas. And in this case, the concept of this product, it is being able to provide the customer with the look of a natural stone in this case. And I say natural stone because right now marble is really in fashion.
Yes.
White Italian marble it is very desirable. So it's to be able to provide the customer something that looks exactly like white Italian marble. It feels exactly like white Italian marble because it's a stone, but without the disadvantages that natural stone has, which are, natural stone is very rough on the environment because basically, you're mining it out of the earth. And it has some disadvantages, some weaknesses. I mean, marble is not used commonly in kitchen countertops because it stains, it scratches. It is hard to be able to have matching colors. So this product basically bridges all those gaps and is able to overcome all those efficiencies thanks to the technology. And
it's a great alternative.
It is.
Certainly. Well, I must ask you about the incredible, the Allen that is coming up very soon, that is going to be a true gem in this city. You have so many other projects, buildings across Texas and elsewhere. But let's start with the Allen.
Well, the Allen is definitely the largest real estate development project that our company has developed. The Allen is a mixed-use development on Allen Parkway, which has some retail pavilion. It has a 34-story tower, which this first 16 floors is a hotel, Thompson Hotel, which is the boutique of the Hyatt, and then has 100 residences, 100 condominiums. That is a phase one, and then we have phase two that will come later as an apartment and more retail. But basically, the island is just an opportunity created by the big investment that was made on Buffalo Bayou.
Yes.
Because it's a great location now, but it's really leaning on that big investment that the Kinder family and the city of Houston created with Bayou Bend Park.
And it's going to be extraordinary. We can't wait to host our gala there in 2024, and it'll be around the corner. And certainly going there, having been in San Antonio at the Thompson that you have there, and it's extraordinary having come to this city, as you mentioned, to Houston, without the language, without any connections, if you will, that you are a true American success story.
Oh, thank
So
you.
we're so proud of you, and you've always been very engaged with the Chamber of Commerce. Anytime that I have called, you have been there. So we appreciate, we value, and we thank you.
Well, and I appreciate everything that the chamber does
Thank
for
you.
the community and for business people.
Thank you. So Roberto, before we wrap up, I'd just like to ask you, what would you like your legend to be?
Really, what I would like is for my grandkids to do well, and that to me, that would be the biggest thing that I could leave is really to have grandkids that are doing good, and that they continue that spirit, that American spirit of achievement, and continue to try to get better, after the previous generation.
Every generation better.
Yes.
Thank you, Roberto. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for the
Thank you.
opportunity to be here.
Thank you. Well, we'd like to say again, congratulations to Roberto Contreras and all of the many accomplishments that he and his family have made, not just in Houston, but throughout the country. We thank you for joining us. We'll see you very soon.